Welcome back to MMA Oddsbreaker. I'm Frank Trigg. This week we got Cole Miller on. Already in Denver. It's a week out from the fight. Well, 6 days out from the fight. Today's Sunday, the 8th. You're there early. Most guys don't get in until Tuesday, and you're coming early. You said you've been doing that for 6 or 8 fights.
Yeah.
What made the change? Why did you decide to change and come up earlier than anybody else?
I just felt stressed, when you travel on a work day, which is, a day for us where it's normally a training day. You kind of lose that one day in the weight cut, and I hate to feel like that rushed feeling, because I do cut a lot of weight, and I don't like to feel so rushed or feel like, oh, I'm, 2 pounds behind what I normally am. I just would rather not have to even think about that at all and just focus on the training and focus on the fight and instead of trying to bust my ass just to make the weight, how about just be in cruise control, so my muscles get all the rest they need.
That makes sense. That's actually a pretty good theory behind that, and it's been working for the most part. Of course, at 6'1", it's a big frame to get a lot of weight off, to get yourself down to your weight.
Yeah.
That level of stress that you reduce, obviously you know what it's like to be stressed. You know what it's like not to be stressed. Has that extra day also afforded you more time to get acclimated? Now, you're fighting in Denver, Broomfield, Colorado, which is an altitude. Is it giving you a little bit more time, too, to acclimate to the differences of wherever you are? Not necessarily just Denver, but anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't have, a pulse oximeter on all the time and, checking my heart rate nonstop and trying to see what kind of effects altitude or not altitude has on my body. I can tell you that just in the second day of being here, I'm not feeling anything. But again, we're not at 8,500 feet. We're at 5,500, which isn't something that you should just brush off without thinking about it. But it's also not, at an altitude where I need to be concerned with sickness or anything like that.
Are you worried about it all? Because even that little bit of altitude change will affect you come, third round.
Yeah. I mean, I like to not plan to go 3 rounds anyways, but it's a concern. But it's a concern that at this point you can't do anything about. So what's the point in sweating it? I'd like to think that Holloway, you know, being in the part of Hawaii that he's from, he's also at less. He's at more of sea level than I am in South Florida. So I'd like to think that that's a wash. Nobody really has an advantage there. It's going to be on the person that, trained the hardest and put the most amount of work in. And, youth can benefit him because he's the younger fighter maybe. But I'd like to think that that's a wash, at this point.
He also came out early. I've seen some stuff on him and his trainers.
Yeah, I saw him yesterday.
And they've come out early as well. I think everyone's starting to get the sense of it that sometimes that Tuesday fly-in is not as good as it used to be. Getting in and getting out was our old theory. Get in, make weight, fight, go home. Make a very quick trip, make an easy trip. It seems like that more guys are understanding it needs to be a little bit longer. Now, let's talk about finances of the trip, of coming in earlier. Obviously, the UFC is going to cover you come Tuesday, but you got in on Saturday. What about those extra days in the hotel, the extra days of food? Is that on your dime or is the UFC covered up?
No, I got taken care of. But I had to rent a car, because, being here longer. So I had to, it's been like, you're going to end up spending a little bit more money, but for that peace of mind, it's not even a question. But yeah, I mean, finances, it sucks. But if I was making that big money, I probably would have done a full camp out here. If I could have afforded to pay to have like coaches come live with me for 6 or 8 weeks, I probably would have been able to do. I probably would have opted to do that.
Yeah, and that's more of what a lot of guys are doing. If they're able to do that with the amount of money that they're making, they're going to go ahead and try and pull it together. What's it like training right now down in? What's it like training right now down in South Florida? How has the room been lately?
Really good vibe at Top Team. I think that we started. We kind of changed the formula of the way things were being done about 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and I feel like you're starting to see all that stuff doesn't just happen overnight when you implement a change into a super team or a program like American Top Team. The adjustments that we made with coaches and other athletes and the types of techniques being delivered and the way that those techniques are delivered, they'll take time for you to be able to see the drastic improvements. And I think right now all that's kind of coming to fruition. I think that you've seen the guys that have been fighting, representing America Top Team for the past, year.
Yeah.
I mean, really shining through. And I think that that's just, right now, all that stuff that we, implemented a few years ago is starting to pay off.
Is there any kind of hazing system or any kind of system versus where you live down there permanently, and there's so many of the athletes that live other places and come down there for the training camps? Lawler and Tyron Woodley and these other guys, they fly in and out, they come back and forth, and you're in South Florida the entire time. Is there kind of I don't want to say hazing system, I was trying to think of another word, because you guys aren't going to haze each other, but is there kind of like a separation, I guess, within the room of the guys who are there permanently versus the guys who are there all the time, or a camaraderie more so between the guys who are there all the time?
Yeah, I think that that's going to happen. It'll happen with some people and not with others, because, just because you're here full time doesn't mean that you're going to be close to another guy full time. We're getting a new wave of fighters. I'm not going to be, hanging out with the 18-year-olds, from Russia. I don't really speak the language, and they're also 18. You're going to naturally gravitate toward the people, that you've been surrounded with more, that you're going to get along with more. But just because somebody comes in and they opt to just do camps, I don't feel that we go any harder with them or, kind of treat them any different. I would like to think that we implement kind of like a rougher system for those people that come in. They're like, oh, I'm just checking it out. I'm just checking Top Team out, just trying it out to see if it's right for me. I don't care if we put the killers with them and have them beat the hell out of them at the sparring, honestly. So if you want to come in here and just check it out, then you want to go join another team and then tell them what you saw from sparring with our guys. So if I think that if somebody's coming in just for a tryout, beat the hell out of them, grind them, give them the hardest workouts, tear them down, as far as I'm concerned. But the guys that we have in that come to do the camps, they're representing the team just like the rest of us. They might be in a situation where they have roots in a city and they have a family and kids and stuff like that, and it's not viable for them to get up and move ship. So I don't think we should be any rougher on those guys.
Yeah, at Couture's here in Las Vegas, we call that being greenlit. We get guys that come in and just try to check out the program, and then we go off to somebody's house, and they get greenlit, which means pretty much if that guy's been greenlit.
I'm familiar with what greenlighting is.
Yeah, I got greenlit a couple times coming back in from camps. I was took some time off, walked into a new camp, and then Randy actually said, "Yeah, take Trigg's greenlit because he's a week behind in his training camp." I'm like, thanks. But I'm here. Like, what are you doing to me? He's like, okay, well, it's my day to take my licks.
I've never heard of publicly greenlighting somebody, but I've heard of some, privately.
We do it. It's not with guys we know that are behind. Like I was behind. I was a week behind in training camp. I should have been there the week before, but I had some family stuff I had to take care of. I got greenlit because I was behind in training camp, and that was public. But when you're in front of everybody on the team, it's like, hey, Trigg's greenlit today, and I took my lumps, and that's just kind of how it goes. With the guys that come in and are trying out and just try to feel out the program and see what's right for them, whatever. When they get greenlit, it's usually because they're doing something stupid that's going to hurt one of the regulars at our academy, and then it's a quiet kind of head nod and a look, and then go ahead and greenlit that guy. Yeah,
I feel like the guys that want to come in and just checking it out to see if it's right for me, I feel like they shouldn't really be getting the coaching. Right. Where if there's 8 coaches on the mat, I don't feel that they should be the ones getting any sort of instruction or correction of mistakes that they may be making. It's like, you're just here to try it. Okay, I'll put you with so-and-so. Maybe we don't greenlight them, but maybe we put them with the guy that has no problem teeping knees or something like that, on a regular basis. But
what happens if a guy like a Jose Aldo, or Henan Barao, who always says like, you know what, I'm thinking about switching camps. I mean, obviously the language barrier, but they're thinking about changing camps. They want to jump in. They have a relationship with Labario. They've known him for years. They may not have trained underneath him, but they definitely know who he is. And they're like, look, I'm looking to make a change because my grandmother lives in South Florida, so I want to be by her. And they come in and they really are just trying to check it out to see if they can make that full move. With their expertise and their ability, those guys are known. They've obviously spent time inside the cage winning fights. Would you? I mean, obviously, you're not speaking for the entire American Top Team.
I don't give a shit.
But for you still would want them to get a little bit harder workout for them, even though they're just coming in?
Yeah, put them with me then. I don't give a shit. I'll go ahead and let them know or show them how I feel about it. You want to come in and just check it out? all right, and check this out.
Yeah, check this one out. Now, if I
Yeah.
see you here every day for 6 weeks, then we can calm down and
Yeah.
talk about it. Yeah.
Or if I'm like talking and, I find out that he's wearing the patch for this fight and, he's putting his time in for the camp and trying to better the team like everybody else, then, no problem. But,
Right.
you're not even here, trying to do this and represent us, then, okay, check this out.
Yeah, here's this knee teep. Let's see how you feel about this one. Yeah, yeah. I get it. Yeah, I'm from the same. I'm from the same mindset. I don't care who you are, what you do, what your accolades are. If you're if you're
It's
start
not
checking out
dumb.
your camp, then
Yeah, it's like, and it's not some like alpha thing. I'm protecting my other teammates by doing that. It's
right.
like, because that guy, when he goes and joins that other super team, and one of his teammates is fighting one of our teammates, they will tell what they saw. Like from sparring with that guy or what have you. So like, I'm protecting everybody else by doing that too.
Now talking about super teams. You and I have talked about. I've talked about this with other people before. You and I have not talked about this yet. Do you see that to be a champ in the way the field the MMA is going now, the way the promotions are working now, that you have to be with a super team, otherwise you can't ever really be a champ in these divisions?
No, I don't agree with that at all. I think that honestly, I would want to have the types of coaches that are at super teams, because the super teams, thing that makes them super is because they have everything under one roof, right? They have
Right.
like and a high level under one roof. They have a high level striking, whether that's boxing or Muay Thai, or some gyms have both at a high level. Then you got your wrestling or your judo, for your takedowns, and then you have your Brazilian jiu-jitsu or your sambo or your judo or your catch wrestling or sub wrestling, whatever your coach there is. So honestly, I think that a champion can be made by doing what, like boxers do. Maybe like, uh, you join a gym, but you surround the camp around you. It kind of just stinks that most fighters aren't in a position financially to do that. But I think that a champion could absolutely be made by just having one coach focused on them for the striking, another coach focused on them just for the wrestling, and then another one for their groundwork, and then maybe another one if you wanted to include that other part of strength and conditioning,
Right.
and you just center it just like that, because then everything's getting geared toward you and only you. It doesn't matter if there's another teammate on that same card. It doesn't matter if there's another teammate fighting next week or 3 days before you, with how often these UFC cards are happening now,
Yeah.
which is great. But yeah, none of that matters. It's all centered around you.
Yeah, I like that. I like that mentality, and I wish I had made enough money when I was competing to do that, to have it centered around me. And
Well, I mean,
unfortunately,
that's hard. That's hard. I mean,
yeah,
it's not just you. A lot of fighters, most fighters, I'd say 95 or higher percent can't afford to do something like that, because you have to compensate those guys for 6 to 8 weeks of work with only you. They're not working with other fighters. They're not getting paid by, some sort of gym salary. They're with you at whatever compound you choose to go to, and that's it.
yeah, yeah,
So it's a tough spot, but that would be the way, I think, to do everything. I would rule out a lot of injuries too. You rarely hear about boxers, tearing ACLs, is because when they do have sparring partners that beat their asses, and those
yeah,
sparring partners, they get sent home.
yeah,
It's like, thank you for the work, but that's not really what we're trying to have right now. Because you want the fighter's confidence to be high too. But I think with MMA, and not that this is a bad thing, iron sharpens iron is more the way that it goes.
yes.
It may not be the best thing, but it's also not the worst thing. I think that a lot of people try to hate on that, but that has its merit, and it has its viability in a training camp also.
Beautiful. That's Cole Miller's getting ready to fight Max Holloway, come up here on February 14th in Bloomfield, Colorado. Real quick about Max Holloway. What kind of fight do you think this fight's going to be with Max? Do you think he's going to change anything, or is he going to be the same Max Holloway we've seen in the last 4 fights?
I think that he's going to be bringing that to the table. I think that he's 4-0 in his last 4 outings, all by finish. As far as changes, he might come out in southpaw against me. He might do something like that because he fights well on both sides. But I'm not saying that he's gonna be coming out and trying to wrestle me to the ground. I don't think that he's gonna be bringing that type of change to the table. But maybe he'll do some new things. He's a fighter that has evolved pretty rapidly. I think that if you tried to watch him when he first came in the UFC, not for his first fight, but like his third or fourth fight versus now, you can see a big improvement. And he didn't just improve in what he was already strong at, which is what a lot of fighters get comfortable in, right? They're good strikers, so they only want to train the striking. They don't want to go and do that stuff that they suck at. I mean, who wants to just get grinded on nonstop? Not me, you know.
Right.
But he's improved on his wrestling ability. He's improved with his ground. You can see him throwing some submission attempts, some pretty solid guillotines, and some triangles from the bottom. So I don't think that there's any reason to think that he isn't competent or capable to fight in all these areas. I noticed that he usually tries to avoid the clinch. Um,
Right.
I'm not so sure why. He's a tall fighter. He's shown that he can throw knees and elbows, but he usually throws those at a distance. So maybe he'll try to implement a little more clinch and show me that he's got one of those in the fight too.
And what's different for you in your training camp? Have you done anything different in this one? Spent more time grappling, more time working on boxing, or more strength and conditioning?
No, I kind of got a little bit of everything in for this camp. Um, this one, nothing really stood out, and that's fine. You know, I've had some camps that were like that. It kind of just felt very routine, and I think that when you've been doing this for 12 years, like I've been doing this, and been with Top Team for 8 of those years or 9 of those years, then routine's not a bad thing. It means that I'm starting to get used to what's happening in the gym, and my body's starting to get used to it. My mind's starting to get used to it, and it just feels like another day at work. And um, I was surprised that with the year layoff and that kind of stuff happening, that it felt so routine and so normal. But it did, and I'm not trying to fight it. There's nothing to fight about it, anyways. It's just if it feels that way, it feels that way.
Perfect. Cole, thanks for coming out here and spending some time with us here at MMAOddsBreaker. I appreciate it. And thanks for giving
Yep.
us some insight into how ATT works and the mindset, at least from your standpoint, how it is
Yep.
down there in South Florida.
My pleasure. Always good to talk to you, Frank.
Have a great time, man. Have fun up there in Denver, man. We'll talk soon.
All right. Take care.